I understand the problem is to ask some questions, some correct questions about directions, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And my question, the first question was about
The taxi, yeah. I have an app. If I don't have the app or my telephone battery dies,
uh-huh.
I'll go. If for instance I'm in a situation where my telephone's not working, I'll go to a hotel and I'll ask somebody if they can order me a taxi. And usually, probably about 8 times out of 10, they speak English quite well, so I don't have to worry about speaking in Russian, and they order a taxi for me, which ends up being cheaper than the application on the telephone.
If you spoke Russian, what did you say to them?
I would say, извините, я не говорю, я говорю плохо, я еще не понимаю все. Можно call taxi.
People in the streets.
People in the streets, it's hit and miss. It's usually fine. It's usually not a problem at all. People will help. Every time I've asked for directions, it's been a pleasant experience. People have been very helpful.
They are very helpful. They even sometimes say not only directions and ask about the weather, the sea, comfort, or something else. I talk to them, know exactly the situation.
Yesterday, I was in a situation where I had ordered a taxi from the telephone application, and he'd come to the address, but I couldn't see him and he couldn't see me. And he called me on the telephone and he was speaking in Russian, and I couldn't understand him because he was speaking very fast, and there were slightly the words that I hadn't learned or recognized.
It was a telephone of taxi.
Telephone from the taxi driver. He called me, yes. And there was a couple, two people standing next to me, and I just said on the telephone to the taxi driver, I didn't second, and I spoke to the man first, and I said, пожалуйста, можете speak taxi driver, я не понимал, что он сказал, я не знал, где он. And he looked at me and was a bit he wasn't sure what I was saying, but his girlfriend on Pedruga, его подруга, Anna, she understood what was going on, and she took the telephone and started speaking to the taxi driver, and then she helped me find the taxi. It was just like the next. He was at the gas station instead of the restaurant, so it was very helpful for her to help me in that situation. Otherwise, I would have been standing there for quite a long time.
And you said thank you very much, etc., etc. No?
Yeah. I said, извините, спасибо большое, я ценю это, я ценю вас.
So the problem is to ask in Russian correctly, understand the taxi drivers when they call you, yeah?
Yeah, I still need to get better at that, I think.
Yeah. Maybe you have some other problems in the city, and also asked people, and they said something unusual for you. You didn't understand.
Yeah, there was one. I have a neighbor. Just this morning, as I was leaving, he was entering his apartment, and I said, "Dobraya utro," and he said nothing to me. And I said, "Как дела?" He didn't reply to me at all. And then I said, "Okay, до свидания," and he just didn't say anything at all. And I find that quite rude.
So some people are reserved, and maybe they didn't understand you correctly. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe the pronunciation of mine is not very good yet, but and maybe it's a personality type. But it's совсед, your neighbor.
You text me about the difference between Perth and Odessa, yeah?
Yeah, what I meant to say was that I really, really adore Odessa, its buildings.
Yeah, architecture.
I know that people say that it's such an old city and everything like that, but I just love it. I love the architecture of the old buildings. It's something that Perth's knocked down all their old buildings. We have maybe one historical building, which is a post office now,
Oh,
which
really?
they're trying to knock down to put up big apartments, and it's going to happen because it's.
But how old is Perth?
Oh, I have no idea how old Perth is.
No,
We
maybe
used to also have
it's.
tram lines like
Uh-huh.
Odessa
Uh-huh.
tramway,
Uh-huh.
but they took that out, which was really stupid because if they still had that in there, it'd be a lot better transport now.
You said the girls helped you to get to the bus station. Yes, how it
Yeah,
was?
I was in walking back from Deribavskaya. I'd got a taxi to Deribavskaya, but I couldn't remember how to get back, and I wasn't sure what the bus line was. Now I know it's like a line 10 or line 9 or something, but at that point I hadn't known how to get back, so I was trying to walk back, and I was unsure which street to go,
Uh-huh.
which um, and I had asked a couple other people that they didn't want to help, but these people I asked, and they work as a tour guide in another city, so they they knew English as well, and they were very used to being asked this question. So they walked me all the way home just to make sure I got back, and it's just very pleasant. They were completely fine with it, and very nice. Just wanted to know who I was, what I'm doing in Odessa. It was a very pleasant experience, actually.
They spoke Russian.
I tried speaking in Russian, and then if they didn't understand a word, there was two sisters. One sister spoke fluent English, and the other sister knew a little bit. But if I spoke, like bad Russian sentences, she'd ask, and I'd say it in English, and then they'd understand. So they understood English quite well. So.
Do you often use the questions "Куда" и "Где"? It's my grammar question to all my students.
Which is that?
Куда и где? Do you know the difference between two questions? Куда и где?
Kuda and Gidia. Yeah, Gidia is like where are you sort of thing, and Kuda is like kind of like where are you going?
So
is that right?
you feel the direction. Yes, it's all right.
Kuda,
Yes.
Kuda, where do you go?
So in case you ask person in the street, what question do you prefer? Куда or где?
I understand Gidia more than Kuda. I have to think more with Kuda. When I'm saying like, Gidia, I was like Aramiskaya улица,
And imagine you are somewhere in Odessa asking about what's your exact question? Где армейская? Где maybe some objects you need?
Я нужна аптека. Пожалуйста, скажи мне, где аптека?
Скажите, пожалуйста, где аптека? Хорошо. И that person says the address, yeah?
Yeah, usually if it's close by, they might say like straight ahead, Priyama направо, or налево направо Priyama, which is like left, right, go straight ahead or something.
So направо, налево, прямо, и you understand them correctly, yes? And
yeah, they might say a different word instead of Priyama. They might say something else, and then I'll say back to them, Priyama, and they go, да, Priyama, налево.
Понятно. And can you tell me, did you have any difficulties with reading the names of the streets in Odessa?
I still have great difficulty with that. Like I only know like Fontanskaya, Aramiskaya, just because that's where like my address is, and then like.
I mean, notice in the streets on the buildings.
Yeah, I have to stare at the sign for quite some time to spell it out. It's just because it's a long word, and it's
long word. It's in Ukrainian, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just for some. I mean, it's not actually that difficult, but I just take a little while to read it.
Maybe the names of the shops or something else also, yeah?
Yeah, like the centers, Fontana, Sky Center, or Athena. I thought Athena was Athena, so I'd be typing that into the taxi app, and it wouldn't come up, and then I'd type it in English and it wouldn't make sense, or I'd type it in Russian, so I had to learn to type it in Ukraine, and then it would come up. So Athena with a AFI instead of a Ukrainian I instead of a Russian I. Yeah.
So your impression in common is good, yeah?
I'd like to stay a little longer in Odessa. It's been pretty good. I'd like to meet more people this time
What
round.
about the service in restaurant, their language?
In the restaurants?
Yep.
Well, everyone speaks Russian, and if there's a problem, they can speak English. The question always comes up. I say I rather speak in English just because it's quicker for them because they're working. So I say, "Вы говорите по-английски?" And they say, "So," but they actually speak quite well. So I go, "Oh, great. Well, I'd like to have a glass of red and whatever I order, like."
Well, do you read the menu and they are also in English?
Yeah, they sometimes provide me with a English menu, but I always ask for a Russian menu, and then I ask in English, "What is this?"
And they tell you, yes, they do tell you, yeah.
Yeah, they like to speak in English if there's an English person. They like to practice their English.
What's your favorite place for eating?
For eating,
yeah.
Favorite place. I don't have a favorite place yet. I think Monica restaurant is an
I heard about it. It's great. I know. Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. I highly recommend checking that one out. If you want to go for a drink, I'd say 12 Monkeys because it's on Darabovskaya Street, and it's near the theater, so it's quite active, and they've got really good cocktails there, and non-alcoholic cocktails as well. The places for coffee I think are great are the Roastery in Arcadia. They do really fantastic coffee, and the same tasting coffee is in Traveller's Coffee, and there's one more, the Terrace Hotel, which is kind of like near Nemo Hotel area. I don't know what the Delphina Aquarium.
Yes. And
those three, I think, must be related because the coffee tastes exactly the same, and it's very tasty. Mary Berry's, I go there a lot. I find the people there really cool. Especially in Cador City Mall and Arcadia. They let me practice my Russian with them, and they sometimes helped me when I was doing Russian studies.
Really?
Yeah, it's just very interesting for them and for me. So, and you get a coffee, and the coffee's fine. Coffee tastes good there as well. But a restaurant, I don't have a favorite restaurant, but I definitely suggest Lviv croissants. Just because the croissants are tasty there, and there's one thing to note in Odessa, or maybe every Lviv croissant franchise, they have really big croissants. In Australia, it's nothing like that.
What's the place for the best ones?
What's that?
The best croissants.
I really like Lviv croissant.
Lviv in Deribasovsk.
Yes. There's one Deribasskaya. I think there's one in Arcadia, and there's another one just near Artemiskaya.